welcome to Curious by Nature with Deep Roots. I'm your host today, Maddie Ball, and oh my goodness, spring, it's here, it's sprung. There's so many charming native florals out and about, and I am just loving it. I'm eating it up. It's amazing. We want to know where you're tuning in from today and what spring blooms are happening in your garden, in the natural areas around you. We're going to be talking about spring blooms in today's episode, but we barely scratched the surface of what's out there, and new stuff is coming up every day. So share with us in the chat where you're coming from and yeah, what blooms are in your garden. If you're listening to this as a podcast or watching the recording on YouTube, hello, welcome. And if you think our webinar series is great, consider rating us and maybe subscribing because we have a lot of greatness to come. So we hope that you'll join us. As always, there's going to be a few announcements before we can get into the nitty-gritty. And I am going to start with our sponsors. So thank you to the Missouri Department of Conservation for their support for Curious by Nature and also for the amazing work that they do protecting our fish, forest, and wildlife resources across the state. I'd like to thank our viewers and donors like you for making programs like this possible. Thank you to everybody who got to make it out to the native plant sale. That was this past Saturday. We had a great turnout. You guys cleaned house, which is amazing to see. If you need more plants for your garden, or maybe you missed out on this past sale, Deep Roots' next native garden plant sale is going to be on May 9th, and it's in association with our first Habitat Garden Tour of the season. So if you want to learn more about native plants by seeing them in action, if you want to meet gardeners who are also native plant enthusiasts, or simply if you need inspiration for your own garden, Habitat Garden Tours are the place to be. You can explore 3 native gardens in Prairie Village and Waldo anytime between 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. And then after you're feeling inspired, head to the native plant sale. It's the perfect pairing for the perfect Saturday, and we hope to see you there. We also need extra hands to make events like this possible. So we don't require any prior native gardening experience or knowledge for you to volunteer with us. And you can learn more about what it means to be a volunteer at either a garden tour or a plant sale by following these QR codes or by visiting the Deep Roots website. We have a special bonus guest here today. Deep Roots Executive Director Stacia is joining us to share some exciting updates from the 2025 Impact Report. Hello, Stacia. I'm going to go ahead and introduce you to those who have not yet been acquainted. Stacia became the first director of Deep Roots in November of 2017. She focuses on programs that increase native plant gardens and acreages across the region. Prior to Deep Roots, Stacia launched and managed Ripple Glass, which increased Kansas City area glass recycling rate from less than 4% to more than 20%. Graduating with honors, Stacia has a master's degree in nonprofit management from UMKC. As a young professional, she was a finalist for Do Something's National Brick Award and has a bachelor's of science in ecology and evolutionary biology from the University of Kansas. In her personal life, Stacia enjoys reading, working out, being outside, and spending time with her husband, 2 daughters, and 2 adorable dogs. And today, her favorite plant is Wild Sweet William, but tomorrow, maybe it'll be columbines, which just came into bloom in her yard. And that is truly how it is. It's switching up every day. Hi, Stacia. Welcome.
Hi there, Maddie. Thank you for that amazing introduction. And thank you for letting me join your show today so that I can share our impact report from 2025.
Yeah, of course.
Thanks to the audience members who are joining us today and our broader Deep Roots community, we are changing the way our community landscapes. As Maddie mentioned, if you haven't already joined us, I hope you will consider our 2026 Habitat Garden Tours. As Maddie shared, if you're looking for inspiration for your own garden, this is the place to be. One guest enthused, I've added so many of the plants seen on the tours to my own yard. That counts for us as well. Thanks to you and our fellow Deep Roots followers, Deep Roots programs are making a difference. In the last 3 years, Deep Roots program participants have planted more than 500,000 native plants, which is absolutely incredible. Now, in its 4th year, the Nature Advisor volunteer consultants continue to serve residents throughout our metro. Nature advisor consultants help people take the next steps on their native plant journeys. A recent client shared, "This is exactly what we needed to wrap our heads around what should go where, why, and how it all fits together." Do you have wisdom to share? Join us as a volunteer. Looking for a little expert advice? Sign up for a client visit. As you can see, together we are making an impact on our community. It's exciting to see that among our community program participants in 2025, 30% of them added a new native plant garden from scratch. The birds and the bees are rejoicing. Finally, I hope you'll get even more involved with us in 2026. Among our various offerings, native plant sales, as Maddie mentioned, our next one is May 9th in Prairie Village. And new this year, we're piloting a 3-day plant sale, June 4th through 6th at the Anita B. Gorman Discovery Center. Habitat Garden Tours also launch on May 9th. New this year, spring container garden workshops. If you have a patio, we have native plant solutions for you. Discover Native Gardening Sessions teach the nuances of gardening with native plants, and we're already looking ahead and forward to Planet Native 2027. Mark your calendars for February 9th and 10th. This impact report will land in many of your mailboxes next week. Inside, you'll find recommendations for plant recommendations for woodlands, prairies, and rain gardens, along with the fauna they support. We also have a link to a site assessment so you can conduct your own site assessment to figure out which plants work in your space. If you're not on our mailing list, join us with the link that my team is placing in chat. Thank you so much for joining us today. Maddie, thank you so much for letting me join you today. And thank you everyone for being a part of this incredible mission. Urban habitats are important and you are helping us make a difference in this world. So Maddie, back to you.
Thank you, Stacia, and thank you for sharing all that cool stuff about our organizations, our programs, and I hope you have a great day. I'm glad you got to be here.
Me too. Thanks so much.
Yeah, bye. Seriously awesome. Seriously, if you're not on our mailing list, consider it because there's so much cool information that comes with this annual report, and I just can't stop looking at it, frankly. So it's great. Okay, our next Curious by Nature episode will air on Thursday, May 7th at noon. And Cydney and I will once again be talking about what's blooming, but this time in Cydney's own garden. So, in addition to looking at what's blooming, we're going to be diving into the maintenance strategies that Cydney applied both when she started the garden and the ones that she still applies today to keep her garden looking nice and beautiful and clean and good. So, it's going to be a blast, and we hope that you'll join us. This webinar is being recorded and all resources will be sent to your inbox after the show, likely tomorrow. And if you have any questions, always feel free to reach out. But if you have any questions during the webinar, put them in the Q&A. We prefer that you put them in the Q&A and not in the chat so that we can see them all in a list and make sure that we get all of those answered. This will happen after the video we're about to play. Cydney and I are gonna answer live audience questions about spring blooms, maintenance, faunal connections, anything you got. We'll do our best. And that's also when we're going to have our pop quiz. So stick around for that as well. And with that said, I think it's time to introduce my brilliant coworker to the virtual stage. Cydney joined Deep Roots as the outdoor education manager in 2023 after working as a native landscape specialist in the Anita B. Gorman Conservation Discovery Center. She is a naturalist who teaches native gardening, leads nature walks, and oversees the creation of Curious by Nature webinars. Her earliest memories include catching crawdads, camping, paddling Ozark rivers, and gardening with her mom. She is a trained ceramic sculptor, earning her BFA degree from the Kansas City Art Institute. And Cydney's endless curiosity, stewardship for the earth, and background in the arts inspires folks to connect with nature. She proudly leads LGBTQ plus inclusive nature programs throughout the Kansas City area and is a self-proclaimed native plant nerd. Hey, Cydney, welcome.
Hi, Maddie. So great to be here with you. And so, y'all, because Maddie and I are doing a joint episode, I'm also going to introduce Maddie because you know her, you love her, but here's a little more insight about her lore. So Maddie joined Deep Roots in July 2025 as the Outreach and Education Program Coordinator. She organizes the Habitat Garden Tours, publishes the newsletter, The Pollinator, manages the Deep Roots social media, and supports the production of the webinar series you're watching now. Maddie has a Bachelor in Science and Environmental Biology from Kansas State University. She's worked as a contracted researcher for various avian labs across the United States, collecting data to answer species-specific ecological and behavioral questions. She's a bird nerd. In addition to her love of birds, Maddie is growing in her passion for the insect world and, of course, for the native plants that support them all. Needless to say, she's a certified stopper as her hike times have tripled, and her new dream is to be able to look both up to the sky and down to the ground simultaneously.
Yeah.
Maddie,
Nice.
I'm so happy that we're
Fabulous.
doing this.
I know.
So
I'm
folks,
so excited. We're so
yeah,
excited.
we're so excited. It's ridiculous. It's a really fun episode and super educational. And if folks, you remember the early days of the Deep Roots webinars, Native Plants at Noon, this is very similar in that feel, but with better technology and more information.
Better technology for real. Isn't that
For
great?
real.
Awesome. Well, with that said, I think we should just jump right in.
That sounds great. Let's do it.
Awesome, guys. Enjoy.
Hey everyone, welcome to Curious by Nature with Deep Roots. I'm Cydney.
And I'm Maddie.
And we're here at the Anita B. Gorman Conservation Discovery Center in Kansas City, and today we're going to be talking about spring plants for your native garden. Let's dive in. Okay, so for our first species we're highlighting today, this is the Blackhaw viburnum, Viburnum prunifolium, which gets to be about 30 feet tall and 20 feet wide and is covered in these cream-colored blooms today. We are here, it's the beginning of April, and it is just a stunning tree.
So do you think that this would be like a good replacement for a calorie pear tree?
100%. So you all are probably very well familiar with our non-native invasive calorie pear or Bradford pear that is all across the state of Missouri and beyond. Yes, the Blackhaw viburnum or any of the various viburnum species, I think there's about 10 different species here in the state of Missouri. Those would all be great replacement options for the calorie pear. And yeah, so you can see.
It definitely smells better.
It smells so much better. It doesn't smell like stinky, rotten fish,
No,
which is
not at
a plus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What kind of like environmental conditions would a tree like this require? Where would you find a tree like this in nature?
Great question. So in nature, you would find this on dry rocky slopes, rocky stream beds, in the woods. You find it in a lot of different places. So it is well suited for garden conditions. And where we have it here at the Discovery Center, it's in a full sun situation. So it's getting blasted with sun. 6 or more hours would give it that full sun condition, but it can handle some shade as well, which is great. So it makes it a really versatile landscape tree.
And it's just gorgeous.
It's gorgeous.
And it's just beautiful.
Yeah, let's take a closer look at it. So later in the season, this tree, once it has been pollinated, which it's being pollinated by tons of native pollinators like bees and flies and even some wasp species.
Okay, everyone, sorry to interrupt the tour, but I had to let you know that later in the day, Cydney and I actually went back to the Blackhaw viburnum just to take some photos and extra videos. And while we were there, 2 mating bare-eyed bee mimic flies showed up and started pollinating this tree. We seriously thought that these were bees for a hot minute. I mean, these flies really nailed the bee look. And here's actually the moment that we realized that we had been pranked by a couple of bugs.
Oh, you know what?
Getting
If
it
they're
done.
not even bees,
What are they?
they're bee mimics. They're flies.
Oh, they're flies!
The plot thickens.
We just got pranked
April
so
Fools.
hard.
April Fools.
Artesian mimicry, baby. Okay, back to Cydney, who's got more to say about pollination.
But once it's pollinated, those flowers will then become these delicious purpley blue fruits, which birds love.
Whoa.
Oh, I just heard a red-winged blackbird saying,
He
yeah.
said, yeah, that's for me.
That's for me.
That's for me.
So yeah, so not only is it providing support to pollinators early on in the year, but later in the year, crucial food for our native birds.
Absolutely.
The fruit of the non-native invasive species that we deal with here in the Midwest are not great for our native bird species. They don't have the right nutrition at the right time of year that our birds need. So that's why it's such a great, just another great reason to replace non-native invasives with our true natives found here in our ecoregion.
Absolutely. Awesome. Let's carry on.
Let's do it. Okay, so now we're walking from the front of the Discovery Center over to the formal garden. There's a super cutie that I'm excited to show you guys. So this little friend we're gonna meet, this is Amsonia ciliata variation filifolia, which we got from Missouri Wildflower Nursery several years back. It is so heckin' cute, guys. It's extremely cute. Like it brings out my cute aggression. So this plant here it's just started blooming, but it's going to get a little bit taller. It gets to be about 3 feet tall. Again, this is a full sun species. We're here, there's no shade anywhere near this plant. So if you have an area in your garden that gets anywhere from 6 or more hours of sunlight, this would be a great plant for you. It's a clump forming plant, so it's very formal. This was featured as one of my plants for the mid-century modern native garden aesthetic, which you can watch that video after this one if you want. So it's great. And so it will get a little bit taller. Right now it's only about like a foot tall. It'll get a couple more feet tall, and then the blooms will open up even more. And then, my gosh, like seriously, one of my favorite moments about this plant is how it moves in the wind. Cue the wind.
Wow, everything's really in tune with this episode today. The birds, the wind.
10 out of 10 would recommend. You can find Amsonia ciliata and Amsonia ciliata variation filifolia at local native plant nurseries and sales. But let's talk real quick about some of the other Amsonias.
I was going to say, really quickly, can you talk about how this plant transforms throughout the growing season and into like the fall months?
Yes, I love that. Thank you for asking that, Maddie. Yeah.
Of course.
So it's very cute now in spring, right? It pops up. It's got this really fine foliage, which ciliata means like eyelash, I think.
Yeah.
Or like thread-like. But as it grows up, I mentioned it gets a little taller. And then once the blooms are done, it will put on these kind of delicate-looking seed heads. But then the second act for this show, I mean, like this plant being the show, is that the foliage turns yellow in the fall. It is super cute, and that is typical of Amsonia species. And so you'll see other Amsonia species like Amsonia ciliata or Amsonia tabermontana, tabernacular montana. I actually don't know how to pronounce it, so I may not have got that 100% right, but that's okay.
We'll correct it in post.
So that yellow foliage is great, making it a great seasonal interest year-round. 10 out of 10 would recommend. Let's go to our next species. If I can get off the ground. Goodbye. I mentioned, I think at the top, it is early April 4th. And so spring is sprung, if you will. All the plants are up. They bring all the flowers. That should be the new phrase, because it's not
April showers bring all the flowers.
All the flowers.
Just all the flowers.
Period. Just all the flowers, because they really do. It really does. The gardens are actually open to the public all the time. So,
it's great.
It's great.
The landscape changes like drastically and so visibly, and it's very cool to experience that by like coming back and returning every month. It looks completely different.
I mean, frankly, every day you'll see something different here.
Last week I was here, and there's new things here today. It's just, it's incredible.
It is mind-boggling. So come down if you haven't been to the Anita B. Gorman Conservation Discovery Center. It's based here in the heart of Kansas City, Missouri. There is a nature center here, so you can go in, you can take free classes with all the awesome naturalists here, and do try these at home. Like, do add these native plants to your home gardens and to your landscapes. Okay, so now we're coming up to our prairie area. So we're still highlighting full sun species right now. Oh, so we're gonna look at our little friend. Oh yeah. There's lots of pops of color here. Okay.
Look at that.
Look at that. Okay, guys. This garden was designed in 2020 and installed in the late spring, early summer of 21. And right now we're looking at rose verbena.
Glandularia.
Glandularia canadensis.
Is it canadensis?
It's canadensis, but did I say glandularia right?
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter how you say glandularia. Glandularia. Glandularia.
It's like the Mandalorian, but glandularia.
The Mandalorian canadensis.
So this is rose verbena. It is a creeper. It's a great ground cover species. Again, also loves full sun. You can find it naturally occurring on glades or prairie edges, but it is an awesome plant for your garden. And Maddie, I want you to get your face up in there and sniff some flowers.
Okay.
Tell me what you think.
Take over here. Holy smokes! It smells like the most beautiful bouquet of flowers you could ever dream of.
100%.
It smells like I want to suck out the scent and put it all over myself so I can smell beautiful and lovely like this cute little charming flower all day.
It is, and charming it is, and sweet, delicate bouquet it is as well. And we were here just a little bit earlier, and we saw a snowberry clearwing moth. Guys,
insert footage.
Insert footage here.
As promised, here is the perfect, beautiful, stunning footage that Cydney captured, and here is me freaking out about it.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. You're kidding me.
And you know what? I'm still freaking out as I'm sitting here learning more about him because he just keeps getting cooler, frankly, and I love him so much. This is another bee mimic, just like the flies that I showed you earlier. This was a big day for bee mimics. They're really trying to get us out here. It has the yellow and the black stripes. It's got the fuzzy body, but the giveaway is that its wings are a little too big for its body compared to the wing to body ratio of a bee. Also, if you can't get a good look at the wings, you can tell by the way he's hovering and flying around and not actually landing on the flowers like a bee would. That's another tell. So we know for sure this guy is not a bee and is a moth. But that doesn't make him any less great of a pollinator. He is working so hard visiting every flower. And you guys, hold on to your chairs. This moth has multiple different host plants where it lays its eggs, 2 of which are Amsonia and viburnum species. What? Are you serious? That is actually, literally, the 2 plants that we highlighted before stopping here. This moth has found paradise, and that's thanks to planting native plants.
Okay, so you said this was a good option for home gardeners.
Yes.
Can you talk about how much does this plant spread?
That's a great question. Yeah. So it has, just with a single plant, it can spread to be, I don't know, I've seen it spread 2 feet, maybe 3 feet, but if it's happy, it'll also spread by seed, which is great. So it's not overly prolific, so it's not on the high end of that sociability scale. I would say it's more moderate. So you do want to make sure other plants don't outcompete it. So right next to it we have Missouri evening primrose, which I would say is more prolific, so has higher sociability because it spreads very prolifically by seed. And so I do have to edit out some of that Missouri evening primrose just so that the rose verbena can persist. But you can see it's also spread into the pathway here, which actually is not the worst thing in the world because what you can do is just dig this up and plant it somewhere else. So I love this plant. I actually, for my own home garden, Maddie, I planted it right as you're walking up the steps towards my house because I want it to smell good even before you get into my house.
You're picking up those perfumes when you're leaving, when you're getting home. Yeah.
It's just beautiful. It just makes me so happy. And the pollinators love it. And the cool thing is, so you're seeing it bloom now. So it is an earlier spring bloom, but it will bloom pretty much throughout the whole year.
I was just going to say, I feel like I saw this guy really late in the season last year. So
100%.
What a great plant.
Yeah.
And the foliage also.
It's so cute.
So cute.
And you can see they're deeply scalloped. And so it's got some nice texture here. And again, it doesn't get very tall. So what? This is maybe 6 inches tall at most. It's a low growing friend, which is great. So if you have plants that are taller in your garden, I highly encourage you plant some kind of ground cover to kind of fill in those gaps because it's going to help hold the soil. It's going to act like a mulch. It's going to keep it nice and moist and not dry out. It's great in that way.
When you say act like a mulch, does that mean that it also will help prevent weeds or unwanted plants from growing there? Okay.
Yes, 100%. So if you don't have a plant in a spot, someone else is going to come in, whether you intend for it to or not.
Open real estate.
Open real estate, 100%. And so having something in there that can hold that space is ideal, because otherwise you'll get things that you maybe don't want coming into your garden. If you want to have like some decision, like have authority, I guess, in your garden, like picking and determining what plants are going to be in there, you need to add some ground covers. Otherwise, other things will just come in anyway.
Yeah, makes sense to me.
100%.
Anything else for rose verbena, or should we move on?
You know, I've got one more thing to say.
Oh yeah, tell us.
So, in the late summer, if it starts to like peter out, you can trim it back a little bit, and sometimes you'll get more reblooms. Gonna rebloom. But I've seen this plant bloom like even in November last year, like just a little, not as prolifically. Like later in the season, it's not gonna have nearly as many blooms, but you'll get like a couple blooms here or there, which is really nice. At my house though, for like post-winter or like spring cleanup, like when you're getting your garden ready for spring before things have bloomed, I actually went through and cut back any dead stalks. But you'll see that they do spread, not just by seed, but also by let me see if I can find a piece, but their little root systems will spread. So see if we can kind of demonstrate that. Do you see those little tiny roots on there? Okay. Wow. So anytime you have a little branch like lay in an area, it's gonna root itself there. Okay. So that's also why I call it a more moderately spreading plant. Yeah, so on that sociability scale, it's like right there in the middle, because it can spread beyond just seed. But yeah, so I think it's a really cool plant. And again, when we get like these slightly warmer spring days, you can smell it on the wind. It's redonkulous.
And we already saw the pollinators hitting it up. So
having at it.
You know it's supporting them.
You know it's supporting them. It's they're working hard. Okay, we're gonna get in the garden here. Get in the garden. Get in the garden.
Did you just purchase a bouquet at the store and then stick it in the ground for this webinar?
It sure looks like it. It sure looks like it, doesn't it?
Check that out.
Okay, guys. What? It really does. And we have a bumblebee. Come back, bumblebee.
Come back. We have questions.
We have questions for you. Guys, meet Hoary puccoon. This little cutie, it does look like a bouquet just like plopped itself right here in the soil. I hate to tell you this, it is difficult to find this plant at nurseries, but it's not impossible. Sometimes our local native plant nurseries carry this plant, but I want to bring it to your attention because you might see it in high quality prairie areas this time of year, or prairie restorations. So I want to encourage you to get out to Missouri Department of conservation areas. Go to Johnson County Park prairies, like at Shawnee Mission Park and Kill Creek Park. You might get lucky and see some of these cuties. So yeah, that's really all I wanted to say, is that it's just really cute.
It's just so cute and a fantastic, unique color. You can't miss it.
You can't miss it.
Walking by, it stands out like sunshine.
It stands out like sunshine. And it's always the first thing to bloom here at Primrose Prairie, which is very exciting. So thank you, Merv Wallace of Missouri Wildflower Nursery, for letting me get these from you several years ago, because I know they're not probably not very easy to grow, I imagine.
And Cydney pointed out to me earlier that this is one of the first seasons she's seen it spread to a new location from when it was planted. So let me see if I can. Oh, here it is. Little baby. Insert B-roll. I can't get the camera to go.
That's okay. Yeah.
So little baby spread over here, and it's so cute.
It is so cute. So it's on the sociability scale, I would rate that as low, very low. I guess a note on the sociability scale, since we've talked about it so much.
Yeah.
It's important to pair plants of similar sociabilities together. So if something doesn't spread very much and you plant, like let's say you got Hoary puccoon, for example, and you plant something like shining blue star, Amsonia illustris, which is related to Amsonia ciliata, but like big, gregarious, prolific, spreads by rhizome, spreads by seed, really difficult to remove once you get it established. That Amsonia would totally outcompete the Hoary puccoon, and you would no longer have Hoary puccoon in your garden.
Okay, so when I'm considering a plant for my garden and I need to know its sociability level, I'm looking at how it spreads.
You're looking at how it spreads. I want you to look at the root structure too.
Okay.
And that can be difficult because if you're new to gardening, especially with native plants, you're like, well, how do I know if it spreads? Talk to your local native plant nurseries. Ask the experts at Deep Roots. You can ask us, like, what's your experience with this plant? Ask your fellow friends who are native plant nerds who maybe been doing this for a while. But yeah, you're looking at the root structure. So is it a fibrous root? Is it shallow on the surface? Does it have deep tap roots? Because sometimes you can also pair plants with different root structures together because they hold different parts of the soil, right?
Cool.
And then also how much is it spreading by seed? Hoary puccoon, after 5 years, it's only spread this one little spot. Other plants like columbine are very prolific, right? And so they spread more readily. So those are things to consider when you're thinking about what plant pairings am I going to put in my native garden. So,
Yes.
yeah.
We're walking up to the Deep Roots demonstration garden. Here it is. You
Here
know
we
what
are.
it is because it says it right there conveniently. And we do a lot of work here in the garden for Discover Native Gardening.
Yeah, you can join us 5 times a month now through October to learn free hands-on native gardening skills. So we do things like what's coming up? What do I do about it? Do I do anything about it?
Yeah.
How do I encourage the plants I want to see coming up thrive? And so now we're going to talk about a very polarizing topic.
It's controversial.
People love it.
People hate it.
Violets!
I love it.
I love it too. I'm a big
I'm
fan.
a violet lover.
I'm violets for life.
Maybe people don't hate it. People are just skeptical.
Okay, so let's look over here actually. Oh, sandflocks. And it's spread over here too. Very cute. Okay, that's not what we're talking about though.
No.
We're talking about violets. Viola sororia. This is a native violet that just appears in your landscape. Y'all, I'm a big fan, but people can get intimidated by them because they are very prolific. They love to spread. But something that's kind of interesting about this plant is it's not widely cultivated because I've read that sometimes the seeds take like 7 years to germinate, and I don't know that anybody has time for that. No. So, but what do? People are skeptical about this plant because it's so prolific. They're like, it's going to outcompete my plants, which it can in some cases. So again, it goes back to that sociability conversation we had earlier. But I love having violets in my own garden because they fill in spaces. They provide early blooms, like the first blooms in my garden.
Cydney, you told me something a little while ago about the direction of blooms and what that means.
Yes.
Does that apply to this plant? And
Yes.
can you talk about it? Because it's
Yes.
so cool.
I would love to. So you can learn a lot by the shape of a flower and like the direction it is facing. So a lot of our early spring blooms, they're either really short and facing up. So like little bees and flies, when they're hovering over as they emerge from the soil, they can easily find them. Or in the case of violets and like Virginia bluebells or columbines, they're facing down, which is not a coincidence, Maddie. It's so that those early spring emerging insects who are responsible for pollinating our flowers and our food, they can easily find them. Something else you can learn about like the shape of the flower is who is going to pollinate it. So tubular shaped flowers, like this has like a little tubular spot. Oh, it also has nectar guides. Nectar guides. You can see that little white lip in there. Those help the bees and other insects like know where to go, like where to land to find that nectar reward and pollinate the plant. So yeah, so there's that. And then because it's a tubular flower, only insects with long tongues or hummingbirds with long tongues can nectar on these. But that's not to say that that's always the case, because there are nectar robbers out there. So
Robbers?
robbers,
Like stealing it?
they're thieves, but you know, it's for them too.
Yeah,
so who
right.
cares? But yeah, so what they'll do is actually like bite. Some beetles will do this. Some bees will do this. They'll bite into the base of the flower and sneak into the nectar that way. So it's pretty funny, and just nature is so cool.
Are you kidding me?
Not at all. Not
The
at all.
thieves. Crime rates in the garden.
Crime
are
rates
up.
in the garden. This ain't no April
not a crime.
Fools.
It's got a specialist bee. Did you know that?
No,
It's got
tell
a
me
specialist
more.
bee. It's one of the minor bees, which a lot of the minor bees are like ground nesting. They're solitary bees, and a lot of them are specialists to a specific plant, which means that they can only pollinate or they rely on the pollen from a specific plant. And so the violet, it's called like the violet andronia bee.
Insert photo here.
And so, yes, it's very cute, very small. So it comes out of the ground and it looks for this guy.
This guy.
It says, where are you at? And he's right here waiting for him.
Right here.
Okay, Cyd, so controversial plant, it spreads. What do you do as a gardener if it does start to take over your yard?
So, One, I will leave it in my lawn because I think that's great. Like I'd rather have moth. I'd rather have violets in my lawn. But if it's starting to take over my garden and like outcompete some of my other native plants in there, I will just dig it up. I'll either move it or I will take the flower petals and turn them into petal sugar, which we learned from our friend Ginger Miller of Missouri Department of Conservation. You can see the episode on front yard foraging, Eat Your Wheaties, which is so much fun. It's the perfect time of year for it. So actually that's exactly what I did this spring is I moved some, and then the ones I just needed to edit out, I just picked some of the petals and blended it with sugar, and now you have pretty petal sugar to put on whatever you want. But also be okay with editing it out if you need to, right? Don't be afraid. I like to say harden your heart, because look, gardens are based on whatever our goals are. And if you just let all of the plants come in, whether they're natives or non-natives or invasives, you lose sight of your goals very quickly, and it can look a little crazy and not well kept. And then suddenly you have all the invasive species in your garden. So that's why it's important to understand, like, what is your goal? Like, are you trying to attract birds? Are you fixing a yard problem, like a wet spot or a dry spot or erosion? Do you have a certain aesthetic or style you want to have in your garden? So I like to consider those things not only when I'm starting a garden, but also over time, because gardens are dynamic, they change. You need to be okay with them changing, but also be clear on your goals all throughout. And your goals can change over time too, and you can have multiple goals.
Yeah, you can have more than just one. You can want to support the bees and want to fix a flood spot in your yard.
And have goth plants.
You could do all three, but it'll really help you when you're making the decision of what plants to put in, what plants to edit out. Absolutely.
So yeah, consider keeping your violets, but also, I get it. Like if it is out competing some of your more demure, introverted species, if you will, it's okay to edit them out, because there's no shortage of violets typically. So yeah, that's what we got here.
We love her.
We love her.
Thank you, violets.
Thank you, violets. Oh, I love violets.
Oh, man.
It's spring ephemeral season. So spring ephemerals are our native plants that bloom in a very short window. So they're blooming in our woodlands and prairies before they get outcompeted or shaded out by other species. And so here we're at Pin Oak Cove at the Discovery Center, and you can see all types of spring ephemerals blooming right now. It's a great time of year to go out into your local woodlands or regional woodlands and see who is a bloomin', because it is a brief window. So this includes things like Dutchman's breeches, Mayapples, bluebells, all kinds of really cute spring ephemeral flowers that are just here for a moment. So they'll bloom, and then as soon as they're pollinated, they will go to seed, and then the foliage disappears until the next spring. So it looks like they were never even here. So that's kind of a fun thing about our spring ephemeral plants, and hence the name spring ephemerals. So be sure to go check them out here at the Discovery Center or in your woodlands, wherever you are.
And that's our show. But don't worry, there's more learning to come during our live Q&A session, which starts right now.
Fun!
Yeah, that was super fun.
If you couldn't tell, guys, we had a great time.
We had such a great time. I could do that every day.
Me too. Me too. I love working with you, Maddie.
All right. Let's check out our Q&A and get into some of these questions.
Y'all have been doing good, popping things into the Q&A section. So we already have 11 questions, but if you've been inspired to ask a native gardening question, there are no silly questions. We're all learning together, so please put them in the Q&A section rather than the chat so we can see them and discuss.
Okay, I've got a first question locked and loaded. Are you ready?
Ready, let's do it.
Deborah's asking, what do we do with all of the non-natives that we planted in our landscape in the past before we wisened up to natives? So specifically, they have lots of hosta and irises. Yeah, what do we do about that, Sid?
Deborah, that's a great question. So first, I just want to say it's okay to have a hybrid garden. And what I mean by hybrid is obviously we're big fans of native plants, plants that have occurred naturally in our ecosystems or habitats for millennia. But there are certain non-native species like hostas and non-native irises that do not outcompete our native flora. So if you have like sentimental value towards those, like my dad gave me some non-native ferns that he's had for like 30 years. I keep them. I keep them in my garden. But if your number one goal is to support native wildlife, then yeah, add more native plants. But those are not going to harm or outcompete our native flora or fauna. So you're good there. Maybe vinca though. I don't know. Maybe vinca may be on that potentially invasive list. I actually don't remember, but you could consider replacing that specific species.
Yeah. Yeah, the invasive ones are going to be the tougher ones to remove too, but with time, they'll do the trick. So, awesome. Okay. Susan says, I have a buckeye bush slash tree, maybe an Ohio buckeye, love, that has this year sent out lots of runners and shoots. Are they something that I can let ramble or should I cut them out at the main trunk?
Great question, Susan. And so I recently learned this from Maddie and I's colleague, Kay Thomason. She talked about how if you see little shoots popping up, those could be water sprouts, which could be a sign of stress. And so, Kay, I actually don't know if you are still watching. I hope you are. But if you have any insight here, go ahead and let us know in the chat. And Susan, I'll admittedly have to tell you, I'm not sure. So we will get back to you on that. But great question.
Okay. And then we have a question from Colleen that's asking about the viburnum species we highlighted, the Blackhaw viburnum, asking if they pruned it quite a bit at the Discovery Center to get it to be that really perfect shape. And also is asking how old that tree is.
Awesome questions, Colleen. Yes, so typically, a lot of our viburnum species will grow multi-trunk, so multiple trunks like this. And so, yeah, you can cut those back to train it to be either one or two main trunks that pop up. And so that particular tree, I'm not sure exactly how old it is, but my guess would be anywhere from 10 to 20 years old because the Discovery Center was opened, I think, in 2002. And the first thing they installed were their woody species, like their shrubs and their trees. So that would be my best educated guess on that.
Mm. So, do you know if different trees prefer to have one or two trunks when they're growing? I'm not sure, but I heard from a constituent about service berries that sometimes those like tend to like to have multiple trunks. So that was new to me.
Yes, yeah, there are some species that tend to be like that. Dogwoods as well, spice bush too, but in terms of spice bush, it's much happier with multi trunks. I'm gonna get a serviceberry in my front yard. I thought I had planted a serviceberry, it turned out not to be that. And so when I do, I will be cutting back some of those additional trunks so that yeah, so I have more of like a single stem, like a small little tree looking specimen.
And what did it end up being?
Spice
That's
bush.
yeah, spice bush.
It was a little whip, and I know this happens, like they get mislabeled or whatever, but it was very cute. It was just surprising because I planted it in 24 and this is the first year it bloomed. I was like, oh, you have yellow blooms. You are not at all a service berry. So it happened.
That's so funny. Oh man, surprise.
Hi.
All right, we have a question from Deborah. Okay, so Deborah's asking what natives to plant in a raised shade bed that will bloom May, June, and early July. They shared that uh, this is a shaded raised bed in a community space and highly visible in Western KCK. And they've already planted some spring ephemerals this past month, but they want something blooming during those busy months, May, June, and July.
Awesome. Okay, Deborah, I've got some suggestions for you. And I will also pop these in the chat so that you have the Latin names and the bloom times. So my first recommendation would be, did you mark where you put your spring ephemerals? Because if they're in that same raised bed and you start digging in, especially if they've already gone dormant, you may accidentally dig them up. So kind of first of all, keep an eye on that. But my first recommendation is going to be woodland pinkroot, spigelia, marilandica, gorgeous red blooms with little yellow centers, cute little clump former, doesn't get super tall. That typically blooms here in Kansas City between June and July. Also, Startixie, Coreopsis pubescens, which blooms May through September, related to Lanceleaf Coreopsis. So it has these cute little yellow daisy flowers, and that blooms May through September. It does get a bit taller than woodland pinkroot would. Two others I'd recommend just quickly would be Smooth Wild Petunia, Ruellia strepens, which blooms June through September, and Purple Rocket, Iodanthus pinnatifidus. I've never said that word out loud, so you know. The wild petunia, the smooth version, blooms June through September, and purple rocket May through June. Now, I will say purple rocket can spread a little more prolifically, so perhaps stick with those first three. And if you can't find them for some reason, then that would be a good option as well. It's a really cool plant, but a little more prolific.
All of these are really cool plants. Woodland pinkroot is has become one of my all-time favorites. It's so darling and it's a favorite of the butterflies and hummingbirds and yeah, it's a great plant. All of those are great. Thanks for the suggestions, Sid. Okay, let's see. Colleen has another question and is asking about whether or not it seems to us that things are blooming earlier this year than in the past.
You
Uh,
want to take this one, Maddie?
Yeah, it's nuts. It's kind of nuts. And the answer is yes and no. Some have been blooming at their normal time, but others like Baptisia australis is one that I saw blooming at the Discovery Center. That's false blue indigo or blue false indigo, Cydney. But it is already in bloom, and that is weeks earlier than we would typically see that blooming. And that has to do a little bit with our weird temperatures that we've experienced this year. So some of our flowers are triggered, their blooms are triggered by a change in daylight. Others are triggered by temperature changes. So when we had those really hot days earlier, even in February, it might have started triggering that process of growth. And I think we've seen all kinds of wild stuff in our gardens. At least that's what I've heard from from most native gardeners around here. These are what we've been calling unprecedented times. We don't really know how these crazy temperature changes are going to affect our growth patterns, but we do the best that we can. So
Yeah, absolutely. Well said, Maddie. Um,
awesome. Yeah.
oh, I was just gonna say, I have a follow-up on that water sprout um
Oh,
question about the Buckeyes. So I see Mary Meinhardt has a response about this, and this is her anecdote. So for the first time this year, her nanny berry and wahoo also sent up lots of sprouts, and she thinks it's because of the response to the hard freeze, which we had here in Missouri, and
oh.
the crazy drought over the winter too. After all the plants had already started to grow, she thinks it's a survival strategy, and now that frost is over, she plans to dig up the sprouts and share them. So I think that's lovely. And we also have a call out to our colleague Kay. So we'll let you all know what she says then too. Thanks for that, Mary.
All right. Sharon is asking, would the rose viburnum work well in a strawberry patch? The
Oh my goodness.
yeah, go for it.
Okay, so
Rose verbena.
Rose verbena,
There you go.
yes.
I was like, my brain broke a little
My,
bit.
my brain
We
broke.
talked about viburnum and verbena, very close.
I know. Yeah, so rose verbena, Glandularia canadensis, which is that short ground cover with the bright pink blooms. It's super fragrant and blooms March through November. It would not work well in the native wild strawberry patch. Our native wild strawberry, boy howdy, incredibly gregarious. On the very high end of that sociability scale, it forms dense ground covers, and something like rose verbena, which has a similar growth habit in terms of like its root structure and where it takes up space in the soil, would very quickly get outcompeted. If you're going to plant wild strawberry, which is a great ground cover, and again, don't be afraid of like highly social plants. Just make sure you're pairing them together because they can handle each other's presence. But you could plant some taller species. Like at the Discovery Center, we have a strawberry patch. Initially, it was like six strawberry plants. Now it's an entire bed. Everything else is gone except for things like cup plant, tall bee balm, the Monarda fistulosa, willow leaf sunflower. Things like that can handle it, but Yeah, it's very prolific, so I don't think rose verbena would do well. And then also another note on rose verbena is I just saw Christine commented in the chat, who she said her rose verbena died in the wet spring and early summer. Yeah, rose verbena, it's a glade species, so it prefers dry, rocky, shallow soil. So in a garden setting, people are like, I see it one year, I see it gone the next. Very typical because if it gets too wet, it gets root rot. So I have it growing on a slope in my little garden, and I'm even seeing this year it's in different spots. So that is one of the things about that. If you have like a really rocky garden bed, it's perfect for it. If you don't, anticipate it to shift and move, and you might need to replant it if you really want to have it in certain areas of your garden.
Mm, yeah, really good points. I didn't, okay, so going back to the sociability about our wild strawberries in particular, could you pair that with something like the violets that we talked about? Or, which brings me to another question from one of our audience members, Val, who's wondering more about violet sociability because while they take 7 years to germinate, theirs go crazy in the garden. So.
Yes, great questions there. So you could try pairing violets with wild strawberry. I think wild strawberry would end up winning out if you were to, if they were like duking it out. Just because they do tend to get a little taller and grow a little later in the season. But let me know if you guys tried that because I would be curious. And in terms of like, well, why is it if it's so difficult to propagate violets, why are they so abundant in the landscape? That's because they have been blooming there for probably centuries or millennia, and they've added their seeds to the seed bank. So over time, they're coming back up. I mentioned that they take about 7 years to germinate, but because they've had a lot more time, that's why you see them so abundantly in your garden space.
Yeah. Absolutely. And additionally, with violets, Barbara's asking if violets are host plants for the Fritillaria butterfly. I'm I'm guessing you're talking about fritillary butterflies. And yes, they are. Absolutely. They are for a few different ones. I don't know if I can speak for all fritillary butterflies. I know some, there's one that relies on passion vine as well. So, but there definitely are like the Great Spangled Fritillary, I know their host plant is a violet, and others most likely as well. So, yeah, it's an important plant.
So before we jump into our next question, Maddie, should we do our pop quiz?
I think we should do our pop. I was thinking the same thing, you and me. We're in
We're in
tune.
sync.
Okay, great. So, for our pop quiz today, our prizes consist of Grass isn't greener. Tell us about it, Cydney.
Okay, this is an awesome book by our recent Planet Native conference speaker, Danae Wolf. Grass Isn't Greener, the Everyday Conservationist Guide to Bringing Nature into Your Yard. It has great practical tips for the DIY gardener. I'm low-key obsessed. If you came to Planet Native and saw her talk, I'm smitten. She's amazing. She's a photographer. She cares deeply about nature. Big fan. So you're going to receive a copy of this book. And what else, Maddie?
And you'll get it in a Planet Native vintage Planet Native book bag, which
Yay!
can also be used to carry all kinds of other good things, your gardening stuff, your gloves, whatever you got, and the book all together in this bag. So, for the pop quiz, I'm going to have you guys go to your chat box. That's the little speech bubble there at the bottom, and make sure where it says to and then a blue box that says everyone instead of host and panelist. We want to make sure that we can see everybody's answers. Okay. Are we ready? I'm
Let's
gonna have
do it.
Cydney pop it in the chat. Today, our pop quiz question is, what are two of the host plant species for the snowberry clearwing moth that were mentioned in today's webinar episode?
Sorry, I just put it in the
Oh,
chat. This is gonna stump y'all.
oh, okay.
Okay,
Yes,
we've got some folks popping it in. I think we have a winner already,
I
though.
so do.
On the count of, or you say, okay, I was gonna say on the count of three, we say
No,
two different
don't
names.
do that. I
Okay,
am gonna say it's Sandra. Um, It was the Amsonia species, which are the blue star species, and then viburnum. And the two specific ones, you said even the specific species, those are the genus, but those two specific species, yeah, are the ones that we highlighted early on. So, Sandra, great job. And when you receive the show notes from today's episode, go ahead and respond and let us know that you were the winner and give us some of your information so we can send you your prize. Great
Yeah,
job, everybody. Good listening.
great job. I think we stumped you guys this time.
I
Maybe, who knows?
know.
You guys are really
A,
smart. So
a little slower. We're like, how challenging should we make these? Because everyone gets them so quickly. You guys are geniuses.
yeah. And Maddie, I think we have time for maybe one more, and
Okay,
I have one in mind that I would love to answer.
great. Say
Actually,
it.
I'm gonna try to say maybe two, but
Okay,
probably one. Okay, you know how it goes.
go for it then.
Okay, so oh goodness, where did it go? Oh, maybe I accidentally knocked it. Okay, here we go. So the question is, oh wow, I'm not seeing it anymore. Okay, oh, here it is. Sorry, Sandy. Sandy, this is your question. I was like, I just had it here. Okay, so Sandy says that she has several Amsonia hubrichtii, which is related to the Amsonia we saw earlier today. Its native range is typically Arkansas, Oklahoma. It gets to be about 2 to 3 feet tall, but looks very similar to the species we discussed. And Sandy wants to know what would be good to pair with them. They're considering New England aster and or red twig dogwood. I actually don't recommend either of those right next to this particular plant because both New England aster and red twig dogwood, though they are awesome native plants, they are highly prolific, highly gregarious, and will outcompete that plant. So perhaps instead consider um, rose verbena, Glandularia canadensis, foxglove beard tongue, Penstemon digitalis, small skullcap, Scutellaria parvula, which is a shorter skullcap. It's super cute, blooms from May to July, and perhaps world milkweed, Asclepias verticillata, which will give you kind of a similar feathery foliage. But those are just off the top of my head some things I think would be cute with it, and they would work well in terms of plant pairing. So thank you for your question, Sandy.
Gorgeous. Awesome. And if anyone ever is like, "Oh, I forgot to write down these suggestions," you can hop back onto this episode. It'll be posted on our YouTube channel, or you can listen through it as a podcast and get those plant recommendations back.
Yes. And wow, folks, I'm impressed. We've got 13 more questions here. We've already answered 10. Obviously, we don't have enough time to answer them all, but I'll be sure to include them in the show notes that you will receive following today's episode. So thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for being such active participants and for tuning in today. We really appreciate your guys' support, and we hope that you loved this episode as much as we loved making it. So hopefully you tune in with us on May 7th for the next episode to learn more from Cydney and I. And yeah, we'll see you then. Have a great Thursday afternoon, everyone.
See you next time. Bye, y'all.
Bye, everybody.